want you to picture this. It's Friday night, you're tired, and you just got home from school. Everything that's on your mind is resting and have some fun. But then you remember that you have an essay that's due on Monday. But you aren't worried. Why? Oh yeah, because you have a whole weekend ahead to do it. But suddenly it's Sunday night and you have nothing done. Now you have two options. A. Come up with an apologetic excuse. Or B. Stay up all night and try to come up with something. If you can relate to this situation, I feel you. I think we've all been through this. Well, so this is called procrastination, and the origin of the word itself derives from the late 16th century from the word in Latin procrastinat, which means deferred until tomorrow. And some experts label it as her ancient nemesis, saying that its origins parallels with the rise of human civilization 2.5 million years ago, finding evidences of prescription against unnecessary delays in the Hammurabi Code. Now, years later, William Shakespeare approached this issue in a poetic and exquisite way. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft win by fearing to attempt. Is this even a problem? So, as we already know, this is a very common behavior amid human population. Actually, 80 to 95% of college students procrastinate. And I have to admit that I, myself, wanted to postpone the writing for this speech for this TED, but it would be satiric and ironic considering that this whole thing is about returning responsibilities and how not to do it. So, is this a very typical issue? Is it just a harmless behavior, or does it actually interfere with your academic, financial, and personal life? As a matter of fact, procrastination has been an issue for greater and lesser degree throughout our whole lives. And the thing is that we're going to find aversion to different tasks and discounting distant goals. It doesn't matter if you're pursuing your career or dream job. Numerous studies show us that procrastination, far from being a laughing matter, is a destructive force in many lives. 95% of procrastinators wish to reduce it, and 50% of college students actually procrastinate. If I gained a penny for every time in my life that I procrastinated, I'd be excruciatingly rich. It's time to examine the underlying causes of procrastination. Procrastinators tend to be impulsive, distractible, and lacking of self-control, and very sensitive to delays. A study was developed in which they used 120 college students with an age average of 20 and a half years old. Participants were asked to give responses regarding tasks with a past deadline, present deadline on, or a future deadline. This was in order to dim the perception of both non-delayed and delayed tasks. It turns out that procrastinators find delayed tasks as harder or that require more effort and not enjoyable.
Another study regarding delaying behaviors in college students as well constructed a questionnaire measuring the factors that may have caused procrastination.
And they found four main aspects. Number one, lack of perseverance. Number two, lack of scheming, urgency, and sensation seeking, or the desire for outdoor activities. In addition, this research found that procrastination was prompted by temptations and impulsivity. So, for example, if you're trying to do your math homework, but then you hear that someone else is watching your favorite show, you're naturally going to feel tempted to drop everything and go and start watching it. Now it's time to dig into types of procrastination. We have arousal procrastination, which are delays motivated by last-minute thrill experiences. For example, having to get something done while setting unattainable expectations at the point where you feel overwhelmed, haven't even started your task yet. And avoidant procrastination, which is the fear of failure, and you'll basically look any excuse to procrastinate because you're scared of failing.
As a former procrastinator, I must admit that I've done both, and albeit the causes differ from each other, they're the result of when you follow a course of action that you may find worse than other available alternatives.
In my case, my biggest culprit are ephemeral pleasures. Basically, I am more likely to do something that seems less daunting than the course related to my crucial goals. These are very harmful because although you can get them done without hindering your main goal, the time and energy that we spend on them still adds up. Now that we brought the problem to the table, I want to discuss the keys to unravel this problem. But I'm not only going to talk about what experts say, I also want to say what has worked for me so far. So, when my brain makes me a bad mood, I apply these techniques. So, I think about how my future self will be thankful and how good it's going to feel to relieve that pressure of having to get something done. Also, as procrastinators, tend to choose short-term benefits over long-term gains, as I said previously. So I try to stick up with those long-term gains. And also think that no matter how long you take, you'll have to do it anyway. It's like there's no escape. You have no escape to your responsibilities. And don't get frustrated if it isn't turning out as you plan in your head. Now let's take a look at what experts say. It's not about self-control. Build schemes to overcome procrastination. Also, construct your tasks to make them defiant but still achievable. Make sure you have a work-friendly environment, avoiding distractions. And pair your distant goals with a more recent ones in order to minimize a discounted temporal perception of time. Hopefully, this will help and you'll stop postponing your tasks.